a raccoon, and a coati. One hails from North America, the other from the South. Technically members of the same extended family, they're not exactly a pair you'd peg as besties. And yet, here at Ark Wildlife Park in the East Midlands of England, they found sanctuary in one another. Roscoe the raccoon arrived here not too long ago. Raccoons aren't native to Britain, but until 2016 they were legally sold as exotic pets. Totally unsuited to life in captivity, Roscoe has spent most of his days condemned to a small cage in a pet shop. Unsurprisingly, his confined life has been incredibly damaging to his mental health.
When he came into us, straight away we saw he would pace out sort of the dimensions of his previous enclosure, despite the fact he was now in a much bigger environment. For reports we've had, the enclosure he had was not ideal. It was too small for him.
This pacing behavior is known as stereotyping, when an animal does the same thing repeatedly with no obvious goal.
Raccoons need lots of mental stimulation. If they're deprived of that, just like us, they will get mental health issues.
When Roscoe was placed with the other raccoons at the rescue, they were not kind to the poor guy.
Because he's stereotyping, he's pacing back and forth. Other raccoons didn't know what to make of him, and unfortunately their default setting was to bully him.
This confused little soul was in desperate need of warm, compassionate company. Who could understand what he was going through? Well, Rio the coati, for one. Also a rescue from the exotic pet trade, this friendly little fellow was rejected by a couple females he was housed with.
Unfortunately, they just wouldn't accept him. They picked on him, they tried to keep him away from the food, and it just wasn't working out.
So Rio was in the same boat. Now, raccoons and coatis are genetically close, but their personalities, worlds apart. In the wild, coatis are social animals. They live in groups of up to 30 individuals and forage together in search of bugs or fruit. But male raccoons are typically loners, so it was anyone's guess how they'd work out as roommates.
Rio, being the confident animal, went straight up to Roscoe and started to investigate him. Roscoe, on the other hand, very shy, obviously never met a coati before, was sort of like, whoa, what's this going on? And for the first few days, he retreated into his shell a little bit. But Rio has been very persuasive, hasn't given up on him.
To keep Roscoe's mind stimulated and to keep him from pacing, Jamie's created some food puzzles for the two. His plan works for a few minutes, but before long, Roscoe's back to his back and forth. But this time, his roomie knows just what to do.
Just like they would when they were youngsters, playing with their litter mates. They're chasing around after each other, they're jumping on each other. It's just typical roughhousing.
Common threads have now strengthened to become the ties that bind, and as you can clearly tell, the touch of this compassionate coati has this once blue raccoon over the moon.
When Roscoe first came into us, he didn't really want to interact with the world around him. It was just persistence on Rio's part, just play, that eventually broke down Roscoe's reluctance to engage. They're best buddies. Rio's got a playmate, and Roscoe's got his own therapy animal who's helping him overcome his stereotyping. So that's really fantastic to see, and he's made such fantastic progress.
Lions and tigers, widely known to be the two top cats of the feline family. In the wild, what you're seeing here is as unlikely a sight as you'll ever see. But at this sanctuary in Georgia, this odd pairing actually came naturally. This is Liberty, an African lioness who arrived here when she was just a year old. Liberty was saved from a private facility where visitors pay to pose for photos with her. Spared from life as a picture prop, her days were about to become far less labor-intensive. But without a family, this gorgeous girl was in need of some company.
She really did need a forever home where she would be safe and not exploited, but we didn't have any other lions for her to live with. And so we were faced with a problem because lions are very social animals and they have to have that pride, that family to live with.
Typically, a pride of lions features about 13 members. Social interaction is a huge part of their development and well-being. Liberty didn't care much for toys or show interest in really anything. To thrive in captivity, She was clearly in the market for a best friend. No one could have predicted that the neighbor next door might be the perfect fit.
Tiger Lily and Liberty lived in separate enclosures right next to each other, so they could see each other, smell each other, kind of get used to each other.
Whoever said curiosity killed the cat never saw a social experiment quite like this.
They would play through the fence. They would rub up against the fence and try and snuggle with each other and touch each other.
Now, make no mistake, pairing two apex predators of different species is not considered good practice, but the staff here have seen it unfold beautifully once before. 15 years ago, the sanctuary took in an oddball band of young friends: Leo the lion, Baloo the bear, and Shere Khan the tiger. Confiscated from a drug dealer who was keeping them illegally as cubs in his house, the team here decided not to break up their gang. And as their story trickled out into the interwebs, the trio became an internet sensation.
They didn't see any differences with each other. They learned the other species' language, and it was really incredible to witness.
Baloo's the only one left standing today, but he acts as a constant reminder that when it comes to finding friendship, anything is possible.
Tiger Lily!
So Allison and her team made the move to give Liberty and Tiger Lily a shot at a proper life together.
Here you go. We were all a little bit nervous just because anything can happen with animals. It was great. There were no issues. Both Tiger Lily and Liberty seemed so happy that there was no longer a fence in between them.
It's not all a cakewalk. Liberty can be a bit grubby when it comes to feeding time. Lions have to compete to feast on their group's kills. But tigers, on the other hand, are solitary hunters and eat at their leisure. So the old girl has no problem letting her young BFF call dibs. They have different interests, sure, and they're at different stages of their lives, so it's not like they need to do everything together. But as you can see, the gift of this otherworldly friendship means a lot to them.
I really think that they will get along just fine for the rest of their lives. Bring it back on up here. Having a companion changed Liberty's life immensely. She would not be nearly as happy today. She wouldn't be as healthy today. You big goofball. Tiger Lily is her pride. It might be a pride of one, but that's her pride.
Hey Love Nature fans, be sure to like and subscribe to catch all our wild animal stories. Get closer to nature right here on YouTube.